The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the Maybe series. If you're new here, the Maybe series is just a list of books that I make up towards the end of the month that might go into my upcoming lineup. So this is going to be the August Maybes. So a list of books that I might read in August. I usually read 2 to 3 books a month, sometimes more if my schedule allows, which my schedule typically doesn't. There's always a spot in my lineup for my book club book. I run a book club, and yeah, that book isn't typically listed in the Maybe series because I don't always know what it is. Like, we haven't decided what it's going to be for August, so I don't know what it is yet. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. If you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. It was actually really easy for me to make the list today. I don't know what the deal is, because typically the last, like, probably 3 months, it's been very hard for me to make my maybes list. Like, I just can't figure out what I want to read. And so I did something kind of different this month. Instead of like trying to categorize things, I went through my TikTok like saved list, because like when people make book suggestions that I really like, I just kind of hit the save button and like put it away. So I kind of scrolled through my saved list and just picked out books that really caught my eye. We'll see how that goes. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The first book I'm going to talk about on the Maybes list today is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. So if you don't know this about me, I'm not huge into Greek mythology, like at all. I think it's like a really overplayed genre, and I just don't vibe with Greek mythology in general. I've never been really into it. Like, it's never interested me that much. I've never like deep dived into it or anything. Yeah, it's just not in my field of vision, like ever. So, I found this on a villain gets the girl kind of list, and I know this is about Persephone and Hades. I honestly don't know anything about either one of them except they're in a relationship. In Greek mythology, it's kind of like a taboo type thing. Like I said, I'm not huge into Greek mythology. I just know that these two are in mythology, have gotten together or secretly gotten together or something like that. Am I excited about this book? I think it could be good because I do like the villain gets the girl storyline. I just don't know. I think maybe I haven't tried mythology enough to think that if I like it. I do like Norse mythology. But yeah, I don't really dabble in Greek mythology that often. So maybe this is something I could like read and sort of get a feel for and like maybe spark my interest in Greek mythology. But yeah, my opinion in general is that Greek mythology is kind of overdone. Anyways, this is, I think this is a series, I'm not sure. But this is about Hades and Persephone. It's supposed to be a little bit spicy, and it's supposed to be villain gets the girl. So I thought I'd throw it on the list. Why not? The next book on the list is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. Okay, so the cover really drew me in on this book because it's just like, I don't know, it sort of like has this electric feel to it. This is supposed to be about girls that go missing in the Appalachian Mountains. So the whole history and like vibe of Appalachia like really piques my interest a lot. Yeah, I'm really into stuff like that. This is supposed to have a lot of high notes about like racism, and there's also supposed to be like a lot of horror and just like Appalachian, what would you call it? Not mythology, like maybe it would be mythology. I'm thinking of it like a completely different word though, and I can't think of it right now. But yeah, the description looked really good, and the reviews were mid to high on this. So it's like when the reviews are consistently good, that makes me think that it probably is pretty decent. There really wasn't anything below 3 stars for this book, so yeah, it kind of gave me a lot of hope. Super interested in this one. The next book on the list is Intercepts by TJ Payne. Okay, like I said, I kind of just like scrolled through my saved list on TikTok, and a lot of these books that I saved on TikTok, like they end up being like books with weird plot lines or books that surprised me. And so this one popped up on a weird but enjoyable, I guess, and it's about the government doing human experimentation. So them doing weird tests on humans. Now that I'm thinking on it, I can't really remember what else it's about. But again, the reviews were pretty good for this. A lot of it says on the cover that it's a horror, and a lot of people in the review said don't go into it thinking it's a horror because it really didn't feel like one. A lot of people said it felt more like a sci-fi thriller, which I can get into that. I can. And they said it had a lot of like body gore, which I do like. And a lot of people said that's where like the reason that it was marketed as a horror is because it does have body gore in it, but that it didn't really feel horror-ish. So yeah, this sounded interesting. The cover looked good. The reviews were all really high, so why not? Next book I'm going to talk about is Sacculina by Fracassi. I don't know that I said any of that right. Besides Philip, I do know that I said Philip right. The cover, y'all, the cover on this book. This was another one that was like books with weird plot lines. I think, if I remember correctly, this is about like a dad and maybe his two sons that are like celebrating something, and they're like, let's take the boat out and have like a fishing trip and blah blah blah, and then something in the ocean starts attacking the boat. Man, this is right up my alley, and like so many ways. Like this sounds like a horror. It sounds like it could be like paranormal maybe. It definitely sounds like mythological sea-ish. And you know that the like deep ocean like really freaks me out. So yeah, plus this is super short. Like I feel like it's under 150 pages. The only problem I'm coming up with is it might be hard for me to find this, just because it is kind of an obscure book. But it hit a lot of high notes, and again, the reviews were really high for this, and it definitely sounds like something really cool. Really short and really cool, and maybe a little bit scary. So yeah. Okay, so at this point, I was like, this list is really starting to get a theme of like dark plot lines and like horror-ish. Because the next book on the list is Black Tide by Casey Jones. And this one is about like the world ending. I didn't realize until this point that I was like, all of these books kind of have a major theme, which is that they're scary or people die or they have some sort of like mythos applied to it. Dark, basically. They all kind of have this dark theme to it. So Black Tide. In the description it said this was a mix between Cujo and A Quiet Place, which to me, like, that's a wild combination. There's a lot that could fall into that, and I'm like, man, that sounds interesting. And then I read the description, and it said something like these two strangers are at a beach at the same time to witness a meteor shower, and then after the meteor shower happens, like, they wake up in the morning and the world is like ended, and they're trapped on this beach, and they start hearing stuff in the dunes that doesn't sound like humans or animals. So that sounds freaky and awesome. And the reviews, again, the reviews were so solid for this book that I was like, man, it has to be good, right? The reviews were very, very high. So I have a lot of hope in this one. This does sound kind of like post-apocalyptic, possibly, I wouldn't really call it paranormal. I'd call it more like sci-fi horror, maybe? We'll see. It sounds really interesting to me, and like I said, the reviews were pretty good, so on the list it went. The next book I'm going to talk about is I Am Still Alive by Kate Marshall. Okay, this is a survivalist book. So apparently this woman was out in a cabin in the woods, and it's the middle of winter, and a forest fire starts somehow. Her cabin, like, goes up in flames, and she has to escape and find safety, but of course it's like extremely desolate, and she's alone. So I don't really know why I chose this, but it definitely fits my winter aesthetic brief, so I think that if I don't get to this now, that it will go more towards my winter lineup, because this is definitely the type of stuff I like to read in the wintertime. But I don't know, the description like really captured me. I was really interested in the plot line of this, so I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a survivalist story. Just just reading the description and like looking at the book cover, it's giving a lot of The Mountain Between Us. It's giving kind of those vibes, which I really liked that book. But again, that had 2 people in it, and this one has 1. Like, I'm just sort of afraid that what's gonna keep it from getting like really boring. You know, she's lost in the woods in the snow. I don't know. That's the intriguing part, is how are they going to keep the plot up? How did Kate Marshall keep the plot up for so long? So, yeah. So I wanted to kind of round out the list and pad it a little bit because it seemed a little lean. So on went A Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert. Of course, I'm always working on this series. This is the Wicked Villain series. And this is, again, villain gets the girl. But this is all based on, like, Disney princess villains kind of things. If you haven't read the Wicked Villain series or you don't know anything about it, the first book is Desperate Measures, and that's about Jasmine and Jafar. The second book is Learn My Lesson, and that is about Hades, Hercules, and Meg. And this one is obviously Captain Hook and Tinkerbell. So this has been on my list for a while. It keeps getting cycled in. These books are so hard to get a hold of. Like, everybody wants these books. So that's kind of the reason why I always have to like slow down on them, is because it's usually kind of difficult for me to get them from my library. But we'll see. If I have time for kind of a fun, sexy read, these always read really quick. I will say that the plot lines for these books are a little bit shallow, but I mean, we don't need the plot lines to be that heavy, right? Because these books are all really sexy and spicy. So, yeah, this one on the list. Okay, the last book I'm going to talk about is Choker by Elizabeth Woods. Okay, I have no idea why I put this on the list. Number 1, because it's a YA book. And if you remember back, I don't know when I said this, it was months ago, but I said that YA was really becoming challenging for me because I'm not a young adult anymore, and I usually find the storylines to be a bit finicky. I don't know how else to say it, because I don't want to say like icky or gross, because they're not. They're just not for me anymore. Like, a lot of times when I read YA and I'm reading the plot line and I'm like, oh, there's so many more important things than what's happening right now. And it's difficult for me because I understand what the author's doing. I understand that the target audience is not me. And I do remember being a young adult and feeling like a lot of these small things that end up like not really mattering later in life felt like everything to me at the time. So I understand the sentiment. I understand where we're going with this. It's just not working for me right now where I am in my life. So I don't know why I added this, because it's a YA book, but it sounded interesting, and I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I don't even know if I'll be able to read it, if I'll want to, you know, in another week or so, if I'll want to read it. But it is about a young girl. I think she's like 16, 17, and she's not very popular in her high school. She kind of struggles with her social standing, and a friend from her past kind of shows up out of the blue and starts causing trouble in her life. Okay, let me just say, when I first read this description, the first thing that popped into my mind was that Grey's Anatomy episode where Meredith's friend from medical school just like came like barreling back into her life and then totally effed up everything that she was doing at the hospital. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I'll try to find a screenshot or whatever. That was the first thing I thought of. And then as I was reading more into the description, apparently this has a really dark understory to it. And a lot of people in the review said that they weren't expecting it to be so high-octane thriller-ish. So, I'm hoping it kind of has this, like, darker plot line to it, and it's not just so high school social. Do you know what I mean? It sounded kind of interesting. I put it on the list. Doesn't mean I'm going to read it. It just caught my eye, and I was like, you know, that doesn't sound terrible. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. Yeah, don't be surprised if my posts this month and next month and into, let's just say, into September are really short because, y'all, it is so hot in my office. I have my fan going. I don't know if you can hear it, but like between the highway and the fan, I feel like it's like all kind of like the same like background crap, you know? It's so hot up here. And every week I'm like, you should just find a different place to film. Yeah, where? I don't know. I don't know where. I don't know where else I could film. Like, because there's no other room in my house that is like quiet and like looks decent. Like, I know I have all this back here, but like this is probably the like consistently cleanest room in my house because literally no one comes up here. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, they're all probably going to be a little bit short because it's very, very hot up here. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week. And next week is the monthly wrap-up, which I'm excited to share with you guys. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you think I would like to read, if you have any recommendations for me. I love hearing from you guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye!